let you just start your calculators real quick. So, not everybody's packing today? Alright, that's fine. Mental math is fun too. So, as seniors, a lot of people like to tell us that we have 12 solid years of education behind us. Eating pace in kindergarten apparently doesn't count. But if we actually look at the math, we were learning for about 8 45-minute periods a day, maybe less in younger grades. That's about 360 minutes a day, or 6 hours. That means in a typical 183-day school year, you were learning for 1,098 hours, or 45.75 days. That means that over 12 years of education, you actually learned for about 549 days, which is about 1.589 years. Now, a lot of people are wishing I would stop with the math. A lot of parents are wondering what their kids have been doing for the other 10.495890411 years. I will put both groups to rest by moving on to the math and talking about life outside of school. Now, this wouldn't be a proper speech if I didn't challenge, inspire, and call out some of my fears. So I'm going to use a story that I think can effectively do all these things. It's the story of a little boy. This little boy grew up in less than favorable conditions. Big families and small houses never seem to mix. But this little boy would be weighed down by more than just finances. Slowly, one by one, he watched people around him fall to negative influences. He wondered why people, good people, great people he held dearly, could do bad things. And that leads me to my first point. We're all pursuing something. We all want happiness. We all have dreams, we all have aspirations and goals. But people that fall for temptation, and people that go for momentary pleasure, will never prosper. Both myself and the little boy in our story understand that true happiness comes from self-worth, from knowing who you are and truly loving that person. If you need drugs, or alcohol, or an ego the size of Kansas, or parties, create the mirage of happiness, then I truly feel sorry for you. Don't fall into the trap. Don't tell yourself that it's okay because you're in complete control, because that's a huge red flag to me that you're being completely controlled. And this applies to bad attitudes as well as it does to substances. But I don't mean to make you seize, I'm just here to challenge you, and I don't mean to dwell, so let's get back to our happy-go-lucky story. So, our little boy, he promised to never fall to temptation. But things didn't quite get better for him. By the time he was in 5th grade, he often found himself crying in confusion and frustration. People asked him what was the matter, he would have to brush them off. You see, he had to be strong. He had sick parents, his family was constantly going through issues, and he never quite clicked with the other kids. But then he found an escape. One day in the attic, he met 31 of his new best friends. Their names were Encyclopedia Americana. When he was sad, he read some facts. When he was mad, he read some facts. When he was mortified beyond belief, he read some facts. Eventually, even when he was happy, this little boy would read some facts. It was then that he made a promise to himself that we could all stand to make. He prayed for guidance and vowed that he only wanted one thing for himself: to be successful. He didn't know what he wanted to do, but he knew whatever he did, he was going to do it 100%. This can be quite the motivational tool if you don't directly define success. He knew by the grace of God he would trek on through absolutely anything. This is very powerful and more than applicable to us seniors. It is no longer time to talk about what we might do after high school. It is no longer time to talk about what we want to do. It is no longer time to talk about the plans that may or may not go through. It's time to do it. It's time to go and do what will make you happy. It's time to do what you feel is right. And it's time to do whatever that is, 100%. Page 3. Wow. Didn't think I'd memorized that much. All right. When you feel like you have nothing left, that's when it's easiest to give everything. So don't stop because you think your life is at a standstill. People with faith know already about the greatness that awaits each and every one of us. But I'm not going to force religion on you. You don't have to be religious to be great. As a matter of fact, there's not a face in this group in front of me that I do not have the utmost confidence in, that I can look at that person and say, they will be a success if they're willing to put in the work. When you hear your calling, don't be afraid to run with it. Back to our little boy. Doing everything 100% and being outgoing got him into lots of fun stories and shenanigans. By high school, almost everything he said seemed outlandish to his peer base. But in 6th grade, he received a crossword puzzle. Now it was going swell until 12 down. It was 7 letters, the middle letter was an N, and the clue was the Roman goddess of weeping, and he had no idea what the answer was. Side note, poor family means no internet, means no Google. So he went to the encyclopedia. Point of clarity, the Roman goddess of weeping is Minerva. Minerva starts with an M. He scanned through half a set of encyclopedias in 3 hours for a crossword answer, and he loved every second of it. He realized that as he was going through the book, he recognized all the facts he was seeing before him. And then this mere 6th grader came to a very profound realization. All the knowledge we will ever have is already waiting for us. Everything you knew, everything you know, everything you're willing to accept is already there, waiting for you to make the connection. The human mind is incredibly powerful and capable of extraordinary feats. The only limit to your knowledge capacity is you. If you think studying is going to be hard, it's going to be hard. If you think you're going to fail a test, you'll probably fail a test. This applies to much more than just academics. Does Chase Robles doubt himself mid-jog? Does Luke Hubert doubt himself mid-tennis swing? Does Elliot Yang hesitate while playing Shostakovich on the cello? Do Dino and friends falter while swag surfing? Could the Lady Vikings basketball team have become regional champs with this belief? The soccer team? Any sport? Could Carolyn Duff, Taylor Hammond, and Scott Thornton have placed at state forensics if they didn't believe in themselves? Could I keep this list going on for hours? You bet. Could anything any one of us has done been possible if we didn't believe? No. So why do it? Free yourself, free your mind, and anything can become possible. There are no limits if you can overcome the one in the mirror. Now I have to derail from my original speech a little to talk about something we've all experienced in the past few weeks. We all miss Toxic. We all wish what happened to him never did, but the truth of the matter is that it did. Something that we have to remember is that there's a difference between forgetting and moving on. You can't feel guilty about celebrating today. You can't feel guilty about admiration you have for a peer that can't be here. Pain is not what he intended for us, and it is not where we will dwell. Just like the little boy in our story can overcome trauma, so can you. The main thing is to take care of yourself. You are responsible for you. There's a poster that Mr. Destash hangs in his room every year. It says, you are responsible for you. If you need help remembering this, there are 4 pictures of Garfield the cat, and his feet are like perpendicular, and he's pointing at you like this. And Jim Davis signed it about the left cat's foot, and there's a copyright by Paul near the centerfold. I paid attention in calculus. But that's a really important message for me, you, everyone in the audience, and the little boy in our story. You are responsible for you. If my advice and commentary seem cheesy or cinematic or over the top, or if you weren't able to focus because of this thing flashing out, I apologize. But let's look at the results. That little boy in our story, who had to endure quite a bit, and based on his history wasn't even predicted to graduate high school, today he stands before you, a proud future student of Yale University. I certainly have a lot of people to thank for where I am today. It's not by luck or by chance that I'm standing here. My parents provided everything they could growing up. My family gave me examples of things to do and things not to do. The church gave me a solid place to root my values. The administration I've seen throughout my years has definitely helped me. But my major role models are sitting in front of me. You guys. I could not have done this without you. Now, some of you are more to blame than others, and I couldn't live with it if I didn't call you out on it. Now, you know who you are, so I'll refer to you in general terms. This is my running buddy, my Mach 5 buddy, Prospect Hill alumni. Here come the emotions. My ATUS buddy, who I could not have gotten through sophomore year without. Another friend of mine whose wit has yet to cease to amaze me, and they can make me laugh at anything from comic books to Japanese box jellyfish. And then there's also my friends who taught me how to use a box cutter at the food pantry, my general manager, and my best friend, who doubled my face, let me play with their dog, and completely changed my outlook on life. Now, admittedly, some values are my own, such as my fascination with Russian culture, baby heart seals, baby animals in general, and more recently, inflatable aquatic creatures. But, truthfully, you guys are what made me what I am today. And if you feel like you were not mentioned in the speech, you were right here, in my arteries. It would be one of my greatest honors if you thought I was as much a part of you as you are of me. Thank you.